Hey, welcome to the Dripstone Podcast, the podcast for two friends with a glass and have a conversation. I'm Nick.
I'm Kyle.
Kyle.
Yes, sir.
Guess what we're doing today?
Today is crocheting day?
It is, or is that next week? Today's underwater basket weaving, I think.
Bummer.
Yeah, we got to check the
Not
schedule.
bring my mask or snorkel.
Well, that's okay. I got an extra one for you, bud.
I knew you did.
Yeah, I got you. No, Kyle, today is a Wednesday, which means we are gathered again.
To drink and talk. That's right.
Yeah, there it is.
I forgot.
So soon.
That's what we do.
It is what we do. So let's do it.
Let's
What do you
do
think?
it.
What you got?
Buddy, I have got a bottle. This is an experience of a bottle.
Ooh.
This is a different bottle.
Listen, I like where this is going.
Yeah. What we have here, sir, this is the Ardbeg. So we're going peaty Scotch. This is Ardbeg's Corryvreckan.
Ooh.
I reckon.
Okay, so I gotta be honest. In my mind, I didn't tell you this before we started recording. I was like, how long is it gonna take him to make a reckon pun?
30 seconds.
Literally, you did not disappoint. I appreciate you, bud.
Yeah, that's what I do. That's what I do. Yeah, Corryvreckan.
Okay.
The ultimate Isla single malt Scotch whiskey, non-chill filtered.
Can I ask a quick favor?
Absolutely.
Can you say that in your best Scottish accent for me? Yeah.
Corryvreckan.
Ooh. I just got
Not
chills.
bad.
Not bad at all. Do you know? Did you look up how to pronounce this? Like, are we sure this is how it's pronounced?
I mean, I've watched
Okay.
other people talk about
okay.
it, and that's how they said it. So, definitely does not mean that's how it's supposed to be said. But
I'm just checking. Like, if
from
you
a good old Alabama boy, that's the best you're gonna get.
listen, that was the best Scottish accent I've heard today.
There you go.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
They actually put some I guess tasting notes right on the label, which is kind of
Ardbeg with
interesting.
the tasting notes?
But
Really?
it does say turbulent. I don't know. That's I don't know if that's a tasting note. Turbulent, peppery, dark fruits.
Wow.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
On the back here, Ardbeg Corryvreckan is named after the whirlpool north of the Isla and Jura.
Okay. Turbulent. I get it. Nice.
Yeah, like the thunderous, seething cauldron.
That's my nickname in college.
It is an intense and powerful expression. Swirling aromas and torrents of deep, peaty, peppery taste lurked beneath the surface of this beautifully balanced dram.
that is a poem. What are you talking about? That's not a bottle words. It's a bottle poem.
The epitome of Ardbeg.
Ooh.
Now, a lot of people disagree.
Really?
They think that the I believe it's the Ugadile.
Yeah.
They think that's the best
So
representation.
this is a semi-contentious bottle as well.
For sure. But this is a limited release.
Right.
I think they release it once a year.
Okay.
But yeah, the Corryvreckan.
And this is a high proof too, right?
High proof, my guy. We are in here at 57.1.
Oh, buddy. 114.2.
There you go.
Wow.
For a peaty Scotch.
That is impressive. I know that on the horizon, we both have a couple of bottles of Lefroy cast strength, the updated version. We've done it on the podcast before.
Yep.
But that also is a high proof too.
That was also a bit of contention.
You 100% it was.
Could not remember if we had done that one or not.
Yeah.
Turns out we did.
We did?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought you
did.
said we didn't. I was like, wait, I thought we
turns out we
decided we
did.
did.
Yep.
Yeah, well, that might be something that we can come back to and do another tasting on.
Yeah.
And just see
think
what
it's a great
hits where.
idea.
Yeah.
Now,
We'll
it's
tease
a
that.
new year.
Sure.
Different bottle.
Absolutely. All right.
You ready?
Dude,
Ready to
born ready.
to tap into this bad boy?
Yeah, you want me to open it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go for it. Poop.
That's pretty good. Ooh, whoa. I just listen because I opened it kind of close to my face.
Got sucker peated.
Wow. Sucker peated. That's pretty good. I like that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah.
It came right out that on the spot. Cologne for you, sir.
Only people on Patreon will see that. Hope I don't get pulled over or nothing.
Sir,
You smell like a Band-Aid.
I'm gonna need you to step out. You got any wounds?
Wow, dude. There is some peat in the air.
Yes, sir.
Woo-hoo.
It's been a minute.
Whoa.
Been a minute.
On the nose.
Color first. It's a little darker.
Okay.
It's got some color to it.
So and again, just here recently, I've been having more Irish whiskey and a few other scotches. Like I'm thinking like the Compass Box Peat Monster, which is just like straw water.
Sure.
Definitely darker than that.
Yeah.
Is there an age statement on this?
I don't believe so.
Okay. And I wonder if they color. Like that's a thing with scotches. Do they add any color? I mean, it's not dark enough. I feel like they're like coloring, but it could be. Kyle's grabbing the box.
If there is an age statement, I don't see it. I mean, there's a whole like another novel on the back.
An epic poem.
Yeah, but I don't see any numbers.
Okay. On the nose, for being 114.2, you really don't get a whole lot of proof. I mean, to be fair, we did just record with the Heaven's Door, which was over 120. So like we're probably acclimated to the proof,
right?
But you don't get a whole lot of proof. You get a lot of peat, but it is a well-rounded peat.
Yeah, I don't know if I would be able to nose it and just off the nose know that this is a cask strength.
Yeah, agreed. 100%.
It definitely like makes my nose kind of twinge in the deep nostril.
Yeah, you get a little tickle.
Yeah, I mean, I think I could be confused, and just to think that.
You ever had a flu test? Where they stick that thing
COVID?
away? Yeah, well, that too. They stick that thing way on up in there.
Get on up in there.
Yeah, that's kind of what it does to your nostrils.
Been there, done that.
But it's like really nice and warm and friendly.
Yeah.
In terms of the peat, it's not offensive. Like peat, I feel like can very easily go Band-Aid. I mean, we've had that conversation before, and this doesn't do that. Like it's campfire peat for sure, but it's like warm and friendly and rounded.
And there's a lot of sweet on the nose.
Yeah.
Of like honey. I'd go like a honey sweet.
Agreed.
But then there's this like subtle little like dank. And I'm gonna go like, it's reminiscent of like the sea.
Right.
Of like, barnacles.
Yeah.
And
a little brine.
Shell.
Like just a little hint of brine.
Briny.
You know what? Okay. It's almost like when they're roasting the malt with the peat and you're getting all that smoke, going together. It's almost like you then sprinkled that peat fire with a little bit of ocean water.
Yeah.
And just like opens it up a little bit. And there's just a hint of salty briny.
Like mossy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like you walk into the woods after it's rained.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking like mossy, like on like a piece of like driftwood.
Oh, okay.
Like some sort of like a funky algae kind of thing.
You ever had anything with seaweed? Like like the seaweed paper or anything like that? Yeah. Like sushi,
All
you
the
get
time.
sushi. Yeah. And there's the hint of that.
Yeah.
Like it's just like
Something organic.
yeah, but like you said danky and it's that kind of briny oceany. Like
something
it's
that's come out of the ocean.
Yeah. and it's like it's dried a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, it's baked on that driftwood.
Yeah. It's friendly. I would say like this is a friendly nose. And even for a peaty scotch, which can very easily not be a friendly nose.
Right. Yeah, can definitely get into the realm of like off-putting.
Yeah.
In certain cases.
I love the noise. I love the nose. I love the nose on a Lagavulin. This might, man, it's hard to say because I don't have Lagavulin right now, but this might take that.
Yeah.
That's delightful. It'd be a good cologne.
Indeed.
I'm wearing a little bit right now.
Totally. You should go to dinner after this.
I don't feel like it's an episode with Drip and Stone unless I spill some sort of liquor on me or beer or God knows what else.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Going in?
Enough said. Man, I want to say that they distilled this with seawater.
That is a 180 degree curveball to me. Like the nose does not match the palate because the slight brine that you get on the nose is absolutely like
full brine.
Like you're like, this is salt water. Wow.
I don't get a 180 degree difference. I get everything that I got on the nose is now
turned
the
up.
Volume is at 11 out of 10.
Interesting.
Like the brine is like, holy hell. That honey sweetness is like, holy hell.
Right.
Like everything has just been kicked up and it's like, here's maximum volume.
Right.
+1.
I need to correct myself real quick.
Yep.
I mentioned earlier the Orcadian Scotch. I was thinking of Highland Park, not Ardbeg. Ardbeg is not Orcadian.
Yeah.
Ardbeg is from the Isle of Isla. So I messed that up. So if I left that in, well, sorry.
You can cut all this.
Yeah.
Cut both.
Okay.
Because I wasn't going to correct you.
But you knew I was wrong.
Well, but I don't know geography. Of the area that
I don't know
well.
my north.
I know you know it way better than I do.
North and south.
So I was just gonna
Well, I misspoke.
Sure.
Anyway, back to the whiskey. Upon first sip, I might say slightly offensive, but not because of proof. Sure. Like the proof, honestly, the proof just kind of fades in the background. And again, I don't know if that's because we've just come off an episode of High Proof, and that could very well be.
Totally.
But I think the proof is perfect.
Yeah, I love where the proof's at.
But it kind of fades in the background, which I don't mind at all. But there's this like just salty, briny, but like tannicky kind of sweet that like I could very easily see it being like, what the hell is that? And I'm kind of like, taste buds are like, what the hell is that? And I almost don't know where to place it yet.
Yeah.
Which I find fascinating.
Right.
Because normally I can like, oh, okay, we like this. Or, oh, okay, we don't like this. But I'm like, I don't know.
Right.
I'm gobsmacked here. I don't know where to go.
Wait to be seen.
Yeah.
I love it. There's a bitter at the end that, I don't know, like, I mean, sandalwood is like what's coming to mind for me. Of like this nice little just woody. It's not really oaky because it's just a different kind of thing. It feels a little brighter, not as dark and charred as like oak that we normally think about in whiskey. This it's a little bit brighter, kind of a shinier bitter.
That is interesting. Shiny bitter.
Yeah.
And I totally like, if you use that in a sentence or like written out, that wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. But when you apply it to this, that is 100% on the nose. Shiny bitter. Yeah. Okay. All right. So I've chewed the whiskey a little bit, which we've done before. You take a sip.
Meaty bits.
Right. You kind of chew it a little bit, see what happens. And you're right. Like that bitter takes over and it really becomes the focal point. And I love that. Yeah. Because the malt in this provides this really nice, soft, like landing pad of sweet.
Right.
And so you're hit with salty, briny. Whoa, that's a lot.
It's aggressive.
It is
those first 2-3 sips are aggressive.
Perfect. And so now that I've had, about five little sips, and I've chewed one, kind of thought about it for a second, agreed. It is aggressive. But then you have that really nice soft landing pad of malty sweetness, and that bitter offsets that just enough where I'm starting to see the layers within this. And I find it fascinating. Yeah. And I also find it fascinating in that, like, initially, I didn't know where to place this.
Right. And I think, too, like, just coming off of the Heaven's Door at a cask strength.
Right.
On my palate right now, which granted, it's peat.
Right.
Peat is just going to do that. But, like, I haven't had a sip now in, like, over a minute.
Still there.
And I've still got it.
Yeah.
Like, I've still got the full flavor of this in my mouth.
The finish on this is amazing.
Yeah, it's still stretching out.
It absolutely lingers in the best way possible.
Yeah. I mean, like a cigar would.
Yeah.
Like the flavor of it just stays with you and like clings to you.
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessarily that kind of viscousy, kind of thick.
I wouldn't go so far as to say like this is really super oily.
Right.
But it's a little thicker.
Yeah. It's definitely like not, like it's in the 6-7 range.
Sure.
On that.
Absolutely.
But man, like the flavor just stays for days.
Did you see me do that?
Did you miss your mouth?
I did. Yeah.
It's tough. I mean,
how many episodes we done now? I just can't get the hang of this drinking like from a glass thing.
Bro, pouring, drinking. It's tough.
It's tough. This is
motor skills. Yeah. Fine motor.
Yeah. This is tough work that we do. I mean, we do it for the people.
Yeah. And, we improve with every episode.
Sure. Well, we put ourselves through a lot sitting here.
It's a
drinking.
It's a grind.
It is a grind.
It's a grind, man.
It's a real grind.
Yeah.
I do have a bit of a problem.
All right.
I'm about to take one last sip, and it's going to be empty.
Well, we still have over half a bottle.
Well,
so we're okay there.
I might need just a little splash more.
There you go.
Because I have seen the light.
Still debating.
No,
and you still need to think about it.
No, well,
I understand. You still need to think about it. You still got to work out the minutia of it. Do you enjoy it? I got you.
Okay. Well, if that's going to get me another pour, then yeah, you're right. I'm not totally convinced. I will say though, for the purpose of everybody else, you don't have to listen to this. I'm convinced. It's really damn good. It's really damn good. Like, I don't disagree that the aggressiveness of this could be off-putting because initially that's where I was.
Sure.
But once you start to really kind of reach past that first briny punch that like, and you settle into it.
Yeah.
This is not for the faint of heart.
No.
But this is a Scotch that if you are someone who likes peat, if you are someone who likes that brine, and if you are someone who likes a higher proof.
Likes full flavor.
Yeah, this is 100% in your wheelhouse.
This is a rich Scotch.
Absolutely.
It's rich. It's everything is to the maximum that you can handle it.
And I would say those people that are writing that we read reviews from, this is absolutely, I think, a challenging bottle, but a very worthwhile bottle for those that are up for that challenge.
For sure. Yep. I think that's like the fun thing, and I think that's that's almost the thing that Scotch provides that I almost kind of feel like bourbon doesn't quite have.
Yeah.
Is that really good challenge bottle.
Correct.
You know, because Scotch has so much of a wider range of flavors and things that it can be that you can get something like this. That bourbon, because it is so restrictive of what it can be, it's kind of hard to find that kind of bottle that is like challenging in that way.
Sure. And it's almost like when you get...
It's more about proof.
Right.
It's like how much of a proof can you handle?
A proof and bourbon touts age so much.
Right.
And Scotch doesn't have to do that because Scotch is like, that's what they're known for.
Right.
So like, you know, it's nothing to see a 16-year-old Scotch. Sure, you're going to pay for it, but it's nothing.
That's almost like
that.
the base.
Right.
Range.
Whereas like in bourbon, to see a 10+ year bourbon, like, whoa.
Yeah, you found something.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think Scotch is innovating in other ways of where they're trying to push different things.
Right.
You know, you've got some Speysides that are doing a lot more sherry age kind of things.
Right.
And you've got more of the Islas that are pushing different blended versions, and they're playing around with those high proofs. And that I find quite interesting.
Yep.
Because like you said, you get a bottle that everyone doesn't agree on and that is challenging even for those who are well versed in Scotch, and that to me is incredibly fun.
Yeah.
To be challenged by something that, I mean, I believe in Ardbeg. Like I believe that this is a good Scotch overall, and now you're giving me something that like I'm challenged by as a brand, as someone who likes the brand.
Right. Yeah. As a brand, it's like they're one of those brands that you can trust of, I want to try what you're attempting to do.
Right.
Regardless of like what I know about it, I trust you as whiskey makers.
Correct.
To be interested in what it is that you put into that bottle.
Exactly.
That's going to be different from other things that you've done.
Yep. I mean, in terms of, you know, kind of back to bourbon, I feel the same way with Wild Turkey.
Right.
Like I trust this brand enough because everything I've had has been solid or has been something that I'm interested in. I trust a brand enough that like, show me what you got.
Right.
I'm with you. I'm with you on this journey.
Totally.
And we'll see what happens.
Yep.
And in terms of journey, this is an interesting one.
Yeah. This one makes you think about it. You know?
I like thinking.
It's not a just sit back and taking it in.
Right.
It's a, all right, let me sit up. Let me think about what I'm doing here.
This forces you to grab a pen and piece of paper.
Yeah.
Like
yeah, I got thoughts.
I got to write these down.
Yeah.
All right, so now that we've got, now that I've sat with it, I think a phenomenal pour.
Yeah.
What do you want to talk about this week?
Thought came to me earlier this week of, you know, we live in crazy times.
Step outside your door, look around.
Yeah, indeed. A profession or an art, really, that I really appreciate and envy in a lot of ways is the art of the comedian.
Ooh.
The comedian that is able to go up and say anything.
Right.
And as long as it's funny, can kind of be accepted.
Sure.
You know, and if it's not funny, well, then you fucked up and now you're in trouble. But if it's funny, you can get away with saying things, and it's not necessarily like, you know, I want to go out and be offensive and offend people. It's more
social commentary for the purpose of commentary, maybe.
For sure. But it's just like, you know, you can push ideas in a more accepted way.
Sure.
And you can question things, I think, in a way that's more acceptable. And I find myself doing, you know, just as much thinking when I listen to some comedians.
Correct.
That challenges me just as much as when I listen to like Neil deGrasse Tyson or like, you know,
things that are a little more quote unquote serious.
Intellectual.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
For sure. And I think that's really interesting. It just got me to think about comedians in general, of like, different comedians through the years that I've like, gravitated towards and appreciated. And honestly, we're just kind of curious to, have a conversation.
Yeah.
Hear your take on that.
So I think that there are different levels of comedy. You've got your base level of comedy, which I would say is like your slapstick, your Jackass.
Right.
Your comedy of people getting hurt. It's America's Funniest Home Videos.
Right.
Like those things are hilarious, and they're like consistently hilarious. It's bathroom humor.
And it's great to laugh.
Exactly.
You feel so good when you laugh.
But
ab workout, you're burning calories.
Exactly. So there's like that kind of humor, which I don't think most comedians exist within.
They can start there.
Sure,
they
absolutely.
Can come out of it. I think Jim Carrey would be like a good example.
Oh, yeah. But most of the comedians that I gravitate towards are comedians that are a little more of a thinky kind of comedy.
Right.
A comedy that is observational, the kind of like poking fun at things that humans do in general. Like, this thing is weird. Let's talk about it.
Right.
Or comedians that are a little more thinky of, tell me a good story, make the story engaging and funny, but get to a point that like you're going to land somewhere.
Right.
And you're going to make a thought-provoking statement. Whether that statement is, it could be offensive and you're like, oh, kind of thing.
Right.
Or it could be I never thought about that thing in this way.
Right.
So for me, I tend to gravitate more towards the latter.
Indeed. Yeah. Same nowadays.
Yeah.
Currently.
Sure.
Like,
the 13-year-old me, give me Jackass all day. Like I don't want to think about anything.
Like the Jackass, the Jim Carrey, the
Chris Farley, like those. I mean,
yeah, totally.
Those kinds of things.
Right.
John Belushi,
Gallagher.
Yeah.
Smashing the watermelons. Like
absolutely.
A lot of that stuff that was more gimmicky or Carrot Top with all the props and shit that he used to do.
Yeah.
Like that stuff was like absolutely at a certain time and place. And I think, just in terms of like where we were as a culture and politically, like where we were in that era, that stuff made sense, and that's the kind of entertainment that you wanted.
Sure.
Whereas like nowadays, where there's so much happening and so much to think about and to kind of address, that definitely you want a comedian that will kind of address those things and make
social
you
commentary.
think about them.
Exactly.
And challenge the way that you think about things. And that is incredibly useful.
And I tend to also like comedians that have a difference of opinion and thought too.
Indeed.
Of like, their take is different than mine. Their take is, maybe even
Pardon me?
Their take is maybe even contrarian to mine, but like I want to hear that perspective, and I want to be entertained in that too. Present to me interesting ideas, but make me laugh. And I think that a good comedian can challenge, but does so in a way that like lessens the blow sometimes of like, this thing could be acerbic, this thing could be biting. I may be making fun of you to your face, but I'm doing so in a way that lets your guard down a little bit for you to be able to think about this thing.
For you to be able to listen to what I'm saying.
Exactly.
And absorb it. Totally.
100%. And that, like, I feel like that's what a lot of comedians strive for. I don't think that that's what a lot actually accomplish, but I think that that's what a lot of them are trying to accomplish.
Sure. Yeah. I think it's a genre.
Yeah. 100%.
And I think there are definitely comedians who are better at it than others.
Yeah.
But, I also think there's a lot of comedians that are just as, entertaining and successful that totally skirt it. And don't address it. And it's more like the observational comedian, a Jerry Seinfeld.
Right.
I think Jim Gaffigan.
Right.
Like I don't think any of his stuff really is that challenging. It's more just kind of like
poking fun at like
observational,
the dad
situational kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, man, like when he's on, he's so fucking good.
Well, I think of as controversial as Bill Cosby is right now with all the like the terrible shit storm that's gone around that.
Right.
But like Bill Cosby in the 70s. Oh yeah. But Bill Cosby in the 70s, like that observational kind of dad humor or just everyday life humor is fantastic.
Yeah, Bill Cosby himself.
Oh, Why Is There Air?
So damn good.
Yeah, and so that's what I was going to bring up of like, kind of my introduction to comedy. I mean, in terms of like a stand-up comedian is himself and Why Is There Air?
Right.
Like those two comedy albums, like when I heard them as a, maybe like a early middle school,
Right.
like just had me dying.
Yeah.
And I loved it. And I recognize, and this is kind of goes back to a conversation that we had, 2 years ago about artist and work and separating the two. Like,
right.
I see the challenging aspect of that, and I just want to make that known. But like, I love those albums. I go back, like I can go back and listen to those now, and like, I'm still dying, and I've heard them 100 times at this point.
Yeah,
easy.
I have not listened to himself or anything.
Yeah,
since the stuff. Because like there's just that weird space.
I totally get it. Yeah,
it's the same thing. Like can you listen to R. Kelly now? Like is that okay? Like you can disassociate the artist from the work because like the work lives on as its own thing. It's just hard, No,
I don't disagree.
Because like the dentist.
Oh, so good. My
blip on the floor. It's so good.
So good.
And it's one of the best routines of all time.
Absolutely.
But it's hard.
The individual,
it's hard to like,
I don't disagree.
Sit back and like enjoy that because like, man, you were a piece of shit.
So like, to me, it's also like that observational aspect of these are things that we all go through at some point in life.
Yeah.
Like why can't I eat cake for breakfast? What happens? What happens when I go to the dentist?
He gave me cake.
Right. Yeah. So like, it's those kind of things that I think that a comedian that is doing like this observational humor,
right,
I love.
Yeah, totally. But going back to it, we do exist at a time now of we do have a lot of social issues happening and things like that. So comedians that are absolutely willing to like go into it almost with like the take of let's have a conversation.
Absolutely.
And let's point out things that are don't make sense here and maybe controversial here, but like just in the kind of sense of, but just think about it.
Right.
Just asking you to think about it. Just take that in and like question that.
Yep.
Is that right? Does that make sense? Like, don't just be completely accepting of everything. Like, question what you think.
Yeah.
And there's certainly nothing wrong with that. And you may absolutely question it and come out right where you were and be like, nope, I do totally absolutely believe in that. But like, give it the honest take.
Correct.
And I think the comedians that do that right now are like killing it.
For me, my first, what I'm going to call intellectual comedian.
Ooh.
Like this person
made you think.
Yeah, made me think. And like at that point, when I first heard this person's comedy, I looked at it and went, wow, that person is way smarter than me.
Right.
Yeah. And that was, it was early high school, and a friend of mine gave me a couple of different things by Eddie Izzard.
Oh, okay.
And do you know Eddie Izzard at all?
Sure.
Yeah. So Eddie Izzard's comedy is very, very British.
Right.
So it's kind of deadpan, and it's very thinky.
Right.
It's like you have to, in order to understand why these things are funny, you have to be well read. You have to be kind of on the up and up of popular culture. You have to be a bit of an intellectual, which I recognize is a version of comedy that like is not for everybody.
Right.
But it was the first one of like the man's making a joke about Latin conjugation, which is not funny to a lot of people unless you had to take Latin,
right,
unless you knew some of that kind of like the nuances of Latin conjugation,
sure,
of the language. And like, I just found it hilarious.
Right.
And so for me, he was one of the first that like comedy can be something that is a think piece.
Right.
I can make statements, I can make comments, I can push these boundaries of things that like you might not even know. And you need to be in on this joke. That was the first comedian for me that like pushed me to actually look stuff up so that I could find the thing funny.
Right.
And like, I wanted to be in on that joke.
Right. I would think for me in that same vein would probably be Ricky Gervais.
Oh, totally.
Like,
yeah, 100%.
A lot of his earlier stuff where it's quick, again, British. He can be quite dry.
Yeah.
In some of his things, but it was like the points that he was making that would make me almost be like, oh, man, I got to Google that.
Yeah.
What is he talking about?
Absolutely.
Oh, that is really fun.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
And I think like that's also part of the purpose of a comedian too, is that intellectual exploration.
Right.
And like when you get someone who is doing that, who is pushing those kinds of envelopes, like then it becomes, not only is it funny, but it also becomes an intellectual exercise, which I love.
Yeah, which is what I think, I think the two of us strive for anyway. Is doing anything with an intellectual backing, like it's nothing's just like just dumb stuff.
I mean, I think to George Carlin, and we mentioned George Carlin on our cussing episode.
Yeah.
And this person who looks, I mean, you look at the man and you don't automatically think like incredibly intelligent and smart.
Right.
And that's, maybe that's being too judgmental. I don't know. But like he as a person doesn't give off.
I think he has a bit of a sage look to him.
I mean,
he balances
Carlin.
Sage and homeless man really well.
Okay.
Really well.
I didn't know if like do I want to go that far? Okay. That's exactly. Okay. That's what I was getting at.
He walks that tightrope really well.
That's what I was getting at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Socrates and homeless, same,
It's probably the same thing. Socrates is probably homeless.
Okay. So like you've got someone like that who's not afraid to say the things that need to be said.
Right.
Who's not afraid to
push the envelope.
Yeah, push the envelope, but who is saying the things that we're all thinking anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And like doing it in a manner that is crass, that is a bit of like, can
make you chuckle.
Sure.
But at the same time, make you step back and be like,
man,
I really got to think about that. Was that okay that I just laughed at that?
I just laughed at that. Like, should I be okay? And Dave Chappelle is very similar too.
Dave Chappelle to me is like he's a pillar. Like the man in terms of like making you think about what he's saying.
Absolutely.
I don't know if anybody's done it better.
100% so.
Yeah.
Especially in terms of, doing that in the light of the racial issues that have been obviously ongoing for a while, but have even come to light more in the last 5 years.
And the cancel culture that we're currently in, that he's not afraid to say the thing. I think a lot of that comes from, one, just he's an intelligent person.
100%.
Like a brilliant dude that can like mind warp around these things. But he's also like, he's an intelligent man. So to do it in, I think, with his popularity and the powers that he possesses now, he knows that he can do it.
Sure.
And make it confrontational in a way.
Yeah.
And maybe it connects. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe I do disagree with what you're saying. But in all honesty, that's okay.
For sure.
Because he's a comedian, and it's like it's a power that only comedians possess.
Yep.
Where you can kind of make something, say something without the absolute necessity that this is exactly how I believe and feel about it.
Right, because there's that performative aspect.
Right, because it is kind of just like I'm also just trying to have a conversation and create content in a way to make people think.
Right. Well, there's that, like with Chappelle specifically, there's also that wide-reaching aspect of being able to reach a particular audience, talk to this particular audience, get this particular audience to think about it, talk to them about the thing that he's trying to get you to think about. And it's so nuanced that like what the man is pulling off is magic. Like to get all of these things, agree with him, disagree with him, agree with what he's presenting or not, doesn't like it's so incredibly, you mentioned art earlier. It's such an art form to be able to do that.
Right.
You as a comedian have to know you're going to, if you're pushing that envelope like he does, like Carlin did, like a number of these comedians are doing, you need to understand that like you're going to get some pushback. If you make a joke about this celebrity's wife, there's this element of like, yes, it's a joke, but you also have to understand that there could be real life ramification. And some people are understanding of that, and some people very clearly aren't.
Yeah. We never talked about that.
No.
That he's done. He's done. And Chris Rock is like all probably going to be the better for it.
Yeah.
And I think rightly so. Like, it was a joke, dude.
I mean, I agree.
Especially, you're a celebrity.
Right.
Recognize where you are. Like, he's making a joke that, like, maybe it is insensitive, but at the same time, like, what kind of crazy shit have you said about people in your career and you didn't get fucking punched for it?
Right.
Like, grow up, man.
Right.
Like, take it. There's nothing honorable or masculine or whatever about getting up and slapping that dude in front of all these people. You're not going to look like the hero here, man.
I mean, and yet on the other side, there's a ton of people who are saying like he stood up for like chivalry, like he did the thing he was supposed to do.
Maybe like, yeah, if that joke happens at the bar in Podunk, Texas, and the dude says something that doesn't know something about your wife, or maybe he does know something about your wife and he's saying it anyway, and you go up and slap that dude, sure, you're not going to pay any repercussions for that. So, thing that you did was the worst thing you could do.
Yep.
And how do you not realize that? Of all of these cameras, we're in Hollywood at the Oscars where I'm about to win Best Actor.
Right.
That's the worst thing you could do. And how do you not even think through that?
And the ramifications.
Understand where you are.
Yep.
Like, and just want better.
I agree.
And what a dumb joke. Like, it wasn't even a good joke.
It wasn't funny. Like, most of the people in there didn't laugh because it wasn't.
That
wasn't a good joke. That
didn't deserve you to walk up on stage and hit a dude. Like,
I agree.
I don't know, man.
So who would you say like are your top comedians, both, you know, current and like of all time?
Oh, man, that's tough. Currently, I really enjoy a lot of, and I think it's like just people who have like embraced social media,
right?
And so like, you know, they're not afraid of it, and they're willing to go out there and put out a lot of stuff. But I definitely see a lot and enjoy a lot of Bill Burr and Tom Segura.
Yeah,
like I watch a lot of his podcast that he puts up on YouTube and stuff, like clips and things, and a lot of it's like absolutely hilarious. A lot of it's kind of cringy and stuff like that.
Like, did you just say that?
But well, it's like it's the podcast that he does with his wife.
Right. Oh, okay.
And she's a comedian too.
Yeah.
They just put some wild shit out there. But it'll make you chuckle for sure.
Yeah.
But even like his stand up is so good, and like he does a lot of stuff that'll like make you think. And I think it's a lot of it is because of his, you know, the fact that he comes from like a Hispanic background, but he is obviously like he you know doesn't look that necessarily.
Sure.
And so he comments a lot about those things, and like how people are always surprised at how he can just like start talking in Spanish. And like there's like one in one of his specials where he's specifically talking about like somebody had thought that because of his last name it sounded Japanese, and they're like, "Are you Japanese?" And he's like, "Clearly not." And he's like, "No, actually, like I'm you know Hispanic." And he's like trying to explain to this person, like, you know, Mexico, like there's Japanese people in Mexico, but you know what'll really blow your mind? They speak Spanish. Like, it's like just like a fun commentary, but like it takes a specific person that fits within that can make that joke and make it work and make you think about that joke.
Correct.
You know?
Yeah.
Those two guys right now, like whenever I see anything that just kind of goes through my feed, I'll go ahead and watch it just to see what they're saying.
Right.
How about you?
So someone that I'm drawn to and have been for quite some time is Mitch Hedberg. And Mitch Hedberg's comedy is really based on non sequiturs. So it's like these jokes that aren't connected to anything, that are they're super funny, but there's no segue in between. He's just like rapid fire delivering these jokes, and he has a very specific way of delivering. It's thinky in that in order to understand the joke, you kind of have to be understanding of puns, understanding of like these kind of obscure references and how they all flow together. But he's also a comedian who's not afraid to like, well, that joke didn't land. And like that in itself becomes a joke in the way that he's delivering things.
Right.
So in terms of delivery of a joke, Mitch Hedberg is great.
Interesting.
unfortunately, like he passed away a couple years ago. Actually, it's more than a decade at this point. So like we never really got to see like what his career could become.
Right.
But he's a comedian that like I consistently go back to these older albums and I just love.
Right.
In terms of modern comedians, Bill Burr, Tom Segura is great. And I love the way that they, like you said, can manipulate popular culture and make it something that we as a culture should think about.
Right.
You know, and I think even on a larger scale, like Fallon does this. It's on a much less controversial perspective, but like you've got these, you know, Seth Meyers, you've got Fallon, you've got even, you know, Conan, who is not doing the thing anymore in that respect, but you've got these people who have this national platform who are trying to get people to think about particular things. Even if it's a lighthearted and funny manner, it's, have you thought about this?
Right.
Have you engaged in this way?
Right.
Don't just believe everything, think about it. And I really appreciate that.
Yeah. I think in his heyday, it's really hard to beat Eddie Murphy. I wanted to highlight before we like wrap this up.
Sure.
Comedians in cars getting coffee.
Oh my God.
What a show.
It is.
I love that show.
Carol hates it, like with a passion.
What?
And like if I turn on Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, she's like, I'm out. I'm done.
Why?
I think
what's her?
It's Jerry Seinfeld, and I 100% get it. Like I really like Jerry Seinfeld, but it's because his humor is so dry. In that, like it's so observational, it's so dry that like the things that I find really funny are just like literally him talking.
Right.
But that's what's funny to me, and Carol can't stand it
because I don't even feel like that show's really that funny.
It's not.
It's not like funny at all.
No.
It's just kind of what we do.
I don't disagree,
talking.
but like that's also Jerry Seinfeld's entire career. Like that literally.
Yeah, show about nothing.
Yeah, literally, and I find it really funny. Like
that is funny.
I find myself I'll laugh at Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee because I think.
Well, obviously, like you're putting Jerry Seinfeld, who is I don't really think it's arguable one of the most successful comedians that's ever lived.
Oh, for sure.
With these other comedians who are like the most successful comedians that's ever lived. Obviously, they're going to say something funny.
Right.
Yeah, like, I mean, the funny stuff happens. Like, it's just, it happens. But just the aesthetic of the show of, like, adding in, like, I think it's honestly, like, I think there's a lot of that show that you could say we pulled into what we're trying to do.
Oh, yeah.
Of, like, pulling in a certain aesthetic.
Yep.
Like, about how he specifically talks about cars.
Right.
And, like, gives you the full details of, like, stuff that, like, who cares? Like, I'm not a gearhead. Like, I don't know anything about what you're talking about, but yeah, it's a pretty car.
Yeah.
And like, it's cool that like you tied in this car to this person for that reason. Super fun.
Yeah.
And then you go get coffee and like, maybe it is like this upscale, like coffee, like where they're doing like stuff, or it might just be like some crappy diner where you're just getting a cup of coffee.
Right.
All of it. Like the whole thing of like how they thought about all of it, I totally apply to what we do.
Yeah.
And try to do that same thing. It doesn't always work as well as it does done everything, but sometimes it does.
Sure.
And you try to do that.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's a clear case of like we have an idea and we're planning this thing out and then we see what happens.
Sure.
And like these are the beats that we want to hit, but if we don't hit them all the time,
right.
It happens.
Just got to make it go.
For sure. Well, you got anything else on comedians?
You ever seen a comedian live?
Get out of my head, man. Like ridiculous. I have, and
I don't think I've ever seen like a big one.
I
legit did go see Bill Cosby.
So did I. I saw Cosby before all the shit went down.
Same.
And it was funny, but it wasn't the same. Like I don't know.
It wasn't that good.
He wore a tracksuit and he sat on a stool.
Yeah, we must have went like the same year.
Probably.
We might have went to the same show. Same thing. Like,
yeah,
you just wore a sweatsuit.
Yeah, it wasn't good. It wasn't.
He
bad.
did dentist, and we were like, everybody went nuts when he did it. But like the rest of it was just kind of like,
yeah, exactly.
It is really ain't that fun.
I've seen comedians on like a cruise ship.
Yeah,
and it's not my thing. Weirdly, like, and I don't know if it's because of like proximity to it. I don't know what. Like, I love comedians. I love comedy.
Right.
I love stand-up comedy. But I'd almost like rather watch it on my terms and be like a participant in it, because there's always that like, should I laugh at this? I don't know. I'm gonna laugh at it like, yeah, like
everybody else laughing, I better laugh too.
Right. Or it's like, I'm the one dude who is laughing, and like everyone looks back at me like, how dare you laugh at that? Not that I've ever been in that situation, but I think there's like some sort of weird fear of that.
There's the comedian that like that's his goal, is that he takes a joke and then he keeps adding references until he gets to like only one person and the audience is laughing. I forget who does that.
And like that's the guy.
He's like, and we're there. And then I move on.
Yeah. You?
No. Never for whatever reason. I don't know. Just never been a priority.
Yeah. I mean, there's tons of comedy clubs around here in Central Florida where we are.
Sure.
I've been to places where there's tons of comedy clubs like New York City.
Yeah, we're planning to go to Chicago in October, and it was, somebody's like, oh, are you going to go to Second City? And I was like, probably not.
Nah.
Probably not.
We'll go see the Bean.
Yeah, we'll go see the Bean.
Yeah.
Shiny Bean.
In college.
No joke.
Yeah, I know. It's for about 4 days, late junior year.
Oh. I don't know if you can consider that a nickname.
Oh.
If it happened over. I mean, obviously you're Nick, and that was a name.
Right. No, this definitely was.
4 days, though. 4 days. I feel like there's got to be like a time restriction of like, for it to be a nickname.
But it was, if it's everybody, like, I'll tell you the story off the podcast. We might save that for Patreon.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm feeling like, would somebody come up to you now and, Shiny Bean?
Yeah, definitely.
For that 4 days, they would remember you.
Yeah, there's a very specific subset of people that's all they would know.
Man,
like I said, we'll put it on Patreon,
all right.
or I'll just tell you off the podcast, and we'll never speak of it again.
Shiny Beans.
You got anything else?
No,
me neither.
Not that I can think of.
So we want to know what you think about the Ardbeg Corryvreckan. What? One more time, Kyle?
Yeah, I reckon. I'd like to know what you think about the Corryvreckan.
Can I hear your Scottish accent once more?
The Corryvreckan. The Corryvreckan.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I don't need anything else.
Yeah.
We can just end this right now.
Yeah, boom. Cut it hard.
We also want to know what you think about comedians. Who is your favorite comedian?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, like, there's a million that we didn't mention. So
for sure.
Who did we miss and not give appropriate accolades to?
Even more than that, like what comedian should we have on the podcast? Like, who is your favorite local comedian? Someone who is just hilarious and funny that we should talk to.
Yeah.
So we can edit everything out.
I don't like that at all. We're gonna get all these things. You should have this person on. Nah, I don't think so.
I want to know. Well, only selfishly so I can listen to more comedians. Yeah. That's really it.
Direct all of those to Nick.
That's Nick at Dreppenstone.
Yeah. Make sure everything has Nick in it.
Yeah.
We'll make sure he
just
gets
reference
it.
Nick. Yeah. Well, you can get in touch with us through email. It's dreppenstone@gmail.com. You can also get in touch with us through social media.
It's always one word, Dreppenstone, DREP and Stone. Come find us, like us, see some things, laugh at some things. We're not comedians, but every once in a while.
Yeah. We produce a gem.
We'll make a joke.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of jokes, Kyle, you know how you can support the podcast?
I do.
Well, this isn't a joke. This is like real life. This is real.
Speaking of jokes.
That's through our Patreon. It's patreon.com.
Good old Patreon.
Yeah, it's patreon.com/Dreppenstone.
That's it.
Yeah, and there you can find Kyle and I doing a pour with Drep or Stone, which is kind of a more intimate look behind the scenes of Kyle and I talking about bottles that we love, bottles that are part of our personal whiskey journey.
Yeah, absolutely. Like things that, either we've already featured on the podcast, we don't think we're going to get to that bottle, but, we'll let you know what we think about it, and, maybe it'll inform you on your next your next bourbon purchase.
There it is. And we also have this really awesome series back and forth where we do just a thought and just a reply.
Yeah. What are you thinking about?
Yeah, exactly.
Here's an interesting thought I had.
100% so.
Make a little video about it, and then we'll reply to it.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Like, it's back and forth between the two of us, but why not comment on it too?
Yeah, I know. I'm kind of surprised more people haven't given up. Here's what I think.
Yeah. You can also support the podcast by rating Dreppenstone wherever it is you find great podcasts like this one, and you can support the podcast by telling someone about Dreppenstone.
Yeah, like your mama, your sister, your third cousin.
Sure.
Tell them all. Don't wait till Thanksgiving.
No.
Just tell them.
Yeah, tell them right now.
Yeah, right now. As soon as we're done here, as soon as you're done listening to this podcast, end it, pick up your phone, start calling all of them.
Well, pick up your phone, join Patreon, and then start calling all your family.
There you go.
That's the play right there.
Correct.
That's a pro move. Correct. Yeah. Hey, buddy.
Hey, buddy.
May your glass overflow.
And your ass never show. Cheers, buddy.
Cheers.
Corryvreckan.
Different angle. Is that what you said? Funky?
Yeah.
Ooh.
It's not normal.
Ain't nothing normal there.
Yeah.
Ready?
Born ready. Well done.
Thank you. Consummate professional.
And but it's hard.
Let me switch.
No, you're fine.
No, I'm gonna switch.
I'll get that one too.
Kablam!